Dowell, forgive the broadness of this question, but really what happened against A&M? It looked night and day different alongside the offensive line's production from 7 games to that game.
Wearing glasses today?
Yeah,
I got you. Sorry about that. No, I think it's you get a bye week. I told you guys we tweaked kind of some of the stuff we did during the bye week offensively with the schedule, and just had a chance to really focus on ourselves and get right, and also do some more study and have some more time on Texas A&M, elite defense and one rushing defense in the SEC for a reason. They do a great job schematically and talent. You tie it all together, and they're a handful, and there's a reason why I think they might have the best record in the SEC. But a lot of credit to our guys. Like, they took the challenge very serious. They knew what they needed to do. They knew what the areas and some of those things we needed to improve. And, we got a couple extra days to work on them, which obviously helped as well. But, the credit goes to not just those guys, but it's also Josh Simon and Rocket and Lenoris. Lenoris got us out of a couple tough spots. And, so it's just all those guys – taking the extra week of prep serious and being dialed in the game plan, and they did a great job handling that stuff.
Hey, Dal, amongst all the things that led to the offensive success on Saturday, how important was the offensive line play?
Yeah, it's everything. This is the SEC, the NFL is a line of scrimmage league. And the best you go back, you look at the NFL, like, you're not going to have good teams without great offensive lines. You're not going to have great defenses without great defensive lines. I say this all the time. Coverage always beats protection. Protection always beats coverage. Like, if you can protect long enough, like, your wide receivers have more time to get open. Defensively, if you can sack and affect the quarterback, like, your DBs all of a sudden become better.
Is it as simple as saying, hey, just do everything that we did leading up to Texas A&M, and the results will kind of repeat or follow? Or is there more to it than
so
just saying?
So much more to it than that. Now, you know that by the way you ask the question. I know that, Hale. But I get what you're saying. I get what you're doing. Every week is a different challenge in this league, and Vanderbilt is an extremely difficult opponent to get ready for too. They have a defensive head coach who does a very good job. They've changed a lot, and from last year, it's not the same team we played last year. We're going into an SEC road game versus a ranked opponent. We're not ranked, so obviously people perceive them to be better than us. So it's a great challenge that we have to take the same intensity to this week as we did last week. And now you fight the other stuff. You play well. Can you handle prosperity? We've proven that we can handle adversity offensively, but now can you get everyone wants to pat you on the back, and they weren't doing that 2 or 3 weeks ago. So you better take the same intensity you got ready for against Texas A&M to this week, because it's going to be the same type of struggle. Their names are different. They look different, but they play a different style. This team plays really, really hard, and the strain is going to be real. So it's going to be a 4-quarter dogfight, and we need to have the mindset that last week was last week, and this week we're on to this one, and it's going to be a difficult challenge.
Going back to the offensive line, how much of that is just individuals, young players that you've talked about, just getting better with more reps versus 5 guys playing together every week, kind of what you didn't have last week, and just the growth that comes from that continuity?
It's both, and it really is, and that's to Hale. The point is not just that simple. If it was, we'd play like that every week. But it's getting 5 guys to play well together. The only way to increase the value of the team is increase your own personal value. And how does a young player do that? He plays. Like, Lenoris to this point has played better every week, and Josiah is getting better every week. And some of these young guys Mazio Bennett's getting better every week. The offensive line gets to play every time they get to play together as a unit of 5, they get a little bit better, or they should get a little bit better. I told you guys that when this whole thing started. I knew where we were going to start. I knew what we had. I knew that there were going to be growing pains. I knew this thing was going to be hard. I knew that there was good in front of us. And now we've shown a little peek of it. But it doesn't matter what we did last week if we don't go out and play well and place and strain and win a ball game this week. It doesn't matter. Like, no one cares, and that's the intensity that everyone has to take in this whole game. But to their credit, they played really well last week. But now we're on to the next one, and the next one, this is the biggest one of the season.
You've talked a lot the last couple of weeks of towing a line between telling Lenoris what he needs to work on and making sure that the athleticism, he never loses that.
Yeah.
What he did on Saturday of evading all those sacks, did you kind of watch the film with him like this is exactly the guy that we knew he had?
Yeah, I felt that way the whole season. I know that sometimes on tape, like, we want as a fan base, as a coaching staff, everyone wants a little bit more. I promise we're in good hands at quarterback, guys. Like, this guy's a real dude, a real ball player who takes football very seriously, and he's working every day to improve for his teammates and for himself. We also talked about during the bye week, he and I, when you get the bye week, I told you guys, like, you're recruiting, you're doing a lot of stuff, but you're also, it gives you a little bit of, like, you're not capped by time. So there were a lot of conversations between he and I on how we're going to have to play this game to win the game. And we're not going to play this game not being aggressive. And we're not going to win this game versus a really, really good opponent, the number one defense in the SEC, being cautious. And, like, we need to go attack. And that needs to be the mindset for everyone. Like, we're going to attack. We're going to get this thing. We're not going to ease into the fight and try to make this a 15-round fight. Like, we need to go attack this thing and battle and show them that we're serious about trying to win this game. And he took that mindset to the game. The first play of the game, we call it go route. Just to kind of set the tone of, like, hey, we're going to attack. We're not trying to, like, ease into this thing. And you don't do that. And you can't do that if you don't trust your quarterback. And the week of preparation he had going into that game, no one was surprised by the way he played because he had his best week of practice.
Dowell, after the game, Rocket, was talking about how he attacked the bye week, and he specifically mentioned the Stairmaster.
Yeah.
Said it was crazy on the Stairmaster. Could you shed some insight on what he did, what those workouts were like with him?
Yeah, just everyone in this whole thing is, it goes back to the only way to make the team better is improve your individual value. And especially when you have an older player, it's different than talking to Lenoris and Josiah, like, and Mazio. You have to guide those guys. Rocket knows what it takes to win in this conference. He knows what it takes to be successful. He knows his body. He's been through the wars of the SEC. So for him, it's taking advantage of the bye week. It's not going back home to Florida and laying up on the couch and eating Cheetos and watching TV and all that stuff. Like, he knew what he had to do to play well. And he knew that we needed him to play well to win that game. And that he was going to have to be a difference maker. And he was going to have to break tackles. And his vision was, he was going to have to be on point with his vision. He was going to have to be good in pass pro and all those in the passing game. I think he was our second leading receiver in the game behind Josh Simon. So for him, it's just the veteran presence that you get when you bring in a guy that's done it at a high level. That it's like Xavier Leggett. I tell these guys all the time, like, guys, you had the perfect example of how to do things. Like Matthew Fuller, Jordan Howell, like, watch this guy who knows how to do it, who's done it at a high level. Watch what his bye week looks like. It's not go back home and go to my high school game and hang out with my boys and have a great time. Like, that's what the off season's for. That's what the summer's for. Like, it's about getting ready to play the next game.
Mazio had those 2 catches on the drive before he had to come out that were in traffic, tough contested types of catches. And off the top of my head, it seems like he's made a few of those over the course of the season.
Yeah.
Has he grown that way in being able to work in that part of the field? And how much does it take for a guy to just get more experience to be able to sort of excel that way?
The slot is a hard position to play because there's a lot of, you got to understand coverage. You have to be smart. You have to be able, it's not just smart, like book smart. You have to be able to think quickly. You have to be able to process quickly. When you talk to Mazio, you guys see it. Like, it's a quick thinker, but you can also feel his intensity when you talk to him. Like, he's dead serious as well. He's very prideful. He wants to be good at football. It's not just, he's gotten a lot of pat on the backs for having a pretty good year for a freshman. Like, if you asked him probably and he would tell you the truth, he'd probably say, I haven't done enough as a freshman. But that's his mindset. That's why he makes plays across the middle, because he's fearless. And part of being a slot receiver is you need to be fearless. You need to understand coverage. You need to have savviness. You need to have football instinct. But it's loud in between the hashes. And you have to go in there in these SEC games and play where it's loud and make contested catches and move the chains and do those things. Like, your slot receiver needs to be a chain mover. And he's just getting started. Like, he's gonna have a chance to be a really good slot receiver in this conference for a long time and a really good player for us for a long time. He just needs to keep taking the process and taking the right steps to continue to get better and growing up fast.
I know you aren't scouting him, but I'm sure you've watched a little bit of Diego Pavia and wanted to know what you thought makes him successful in the SEC.
Yeah, he's a baller. Like, he reminds me of in Cleveland we had Manziel. Like, he reminds me of watching that tape. Like, the guy just finds ways to make plays. He's got some of those Houdini qualities. I think the best thing for me, just watching tape, and now I don't get to see him live as much, because even during the games, like when we play him this weekend, like we're trying to we'll make adjustments and do those things. But and you get crossover games in the SEC. I think the Alabama game, I got to watch that when we were getting ready for Alabama's defense. But you talk about a guy that brings energy to this team. One of the qualities you talk about for a quarterback is can he make everyone around him better? Well, obviously this guy does that at a high level.
They were talking a lot on the broadcast about the pin and pull stuff you guys were doing with the run game. Josiah said you guys have done that the whole season. Is that true? And then if so, you have to have great perimeter blocking to make that work. So can you kind of describe, was that something new? And then how did the perimeter blocking make it work so well?
Yeah, Josiah is correct. We have done that. I don't know that it was game ready to do it at the level we did it at that game. But you're also looking at scheme. You're sitting there saying Texas A&M's D-line's really good. Like, they're really good. And you got to attack 53 and a third. We talked about this last week, like triple options. Like, is that a bootleg? Like, you got to stretch the field some way, somehow. Well, that was our answer versus those guys. And so we probably majored in a little bit more. And we hadn't done a ton of it to that point. And that's what the bye week helps you with. Like, you got a chance to challenge your schemes and see if your players can handle this stuff. Perimeter blocking is huge. And sometimes you need bigger wide receivers to be able to do that stuff and be able to sit there and block a defensive end, block a linebacker, block a bigger safety. We felt, and given the extra time, we felt like we could get that thing going a little bit to help us in that game to continue to stretch the field with, because you have to attack. There's a way to win every game, and it's your job as a coach sometimes to find that way to put your players in position to make plays. And you're not going to get in a freaking in a phone booth and beat Texas A&M. They're physical and they're big and they're really well coached and highly recruited. So that was our answer to kind of take away some of their strengths and play to some of our strengths. Josiah moves well. So for him, like, let's get him moving a little bit now. Now we have to find our receivers and our tight ends that can perimeter block versus defensive ends and linebackers as well. So that credit goes to those players because they executed schemes. And some of those they were hard on other guys, but so it was playing to some of it, like Josiah and Case, and they move well, so it plays to their strengths. But Nick and Mazio, like, they did a great job on the edge. Josh Simon, they did a great job also helping and allowing the ball to get to the perimeter. Appreciate you guys.